So I've done, these videos for several years now, and I've had a kind of a focus the last few years on different things like eye floaters, running, like good things and bad things, just real life. But my main goal always is just to kind of catalog thoughts and put things on somewhere where maybe someone might want to look back on. Some of my kids or grandkids, or I don't know, but even me looking back on some of these things. So it's all mostly just about reflection. And this week, the last couple of weeks, started my new job at a school, observing a lot of things, a lot of really great things, a lot of really great people, and just a lot of just kind of broken people that don't quite fit in, which is, that's the world. But we did a session with a guy talking about resilience, and he came up with a lot of good stuff to go on. But I think in general, it's more difficult than just putting down some notes of what might work to help kids and staff and different people become resilient. And I always tie it into my life as a whole. How can I become more resilient? And one thing he said that made me think, he said, the kind of the key for schools is that when there's a disaster happens, one of the first things that they want to do, like if it's a tornado or I don't know, whatever, is they want to get the kids back into school, get them back to something familiar, something normal, with their friends, or just people their age, if they've lost their home and stuff like that, which totally makes sense. But then I thought about it for a long time, and I thought, well, that's clearly a emergency response measure even, and it's something that we totally applied to COVID, with good reason. Kids were outside of school, they were at home, different ways. Obviously, we all know that stuff, but once people kind of, vaccines and all that stuff kind of rolled, things kind of died down, we immediately tried to get kids back into school, which is great, and they get connected with their friends again and all that stuff. We're still trying to get a lot of people to go back to work, I think, because people like working from home, and the new world that we live in now, that's just a reality, which I think is a good option for some people. But there's no support. There's some, like our school has some counselors and their staff, but all these kids went back to school and there's nobody to talk to. There's no one to talk to. There's people to talk to. There's not enough ways to get to these kids so that they can debrief and talk about the last several years, which I find incredible, which it makes sense. There's money's low in a lot of ways, but in every way, anybody going back to work, there's not let's take a week and talk about that big interruption in our lives for several years. No, they just go back to work. And that's, a lot of people don't want to go back to work. They're still struggling with stuff, or they just want to be alone, which is good, but also you shouldn't be alone. So I think what could happen in a place like a school is the kids come back, and the kids that are really good at making friends jump right back in and have healing in that way, and community. And the kids that aren't good at making friends, it's even worse. They get back and they're like, well, start from scratch. And now I have all these grades to get, and it's just quickly floods. And I think it's not just true for schools, as I mentioned, it's true for adults too. There's a lot of adults that are still really PO'd about a lot of stuff, and they just simmer. They're just simmering and boiling over in their houses. People are mad about everything. You see it online in different ways, or just going into the store, whatever, whether it's, inflation, all that stuff. But nobody's dealing with anything. They're just moving forward with it all. And it's we're crazy. We're so crazy that it's like, okay, everybody just go back to the way we were. Nobody talk about anything. That's part of the reason why I like doing the run for life to raise money. So there needs to be more opportunities, more ways, more brainstorming for kids to connect with adults, professionals, other kids to talk about life and not feel like they're being like a weirdo, or oh, they've got this issue, so they're something's wrong with them. But everybody's got issues and no one's talking about it. It's just crazy. We're just crazy, and we're just gonna slowly try to climb and crawl back to health on our own, everybody. I think a lot of things happen. I know, you remember there would be funerals and you couldn't go to the funeral. You got kids going to school now who a couple of years ago, their grandma and grandpa had passed away and they couldn't go to the funeral. They couldn't mourn. They couldn't talk about it. Maybe their first major death in their young lives. And now they're back at school. In our situation with our car accident, my boys, it happened right when COVID started. And I think kids have the school because you can, you think of a kid that, might, break their arm on the weekend or something, and they go to school and they got to have a cast and all the kids gather around. Oh, what happened? Are you okay? And they're kind of like, it's sad that they broke their arm, but it's amazing that they get all that attention. And kids deserve attention. So to have that special moment where they got kids signing their cast, maybe the next day kids signing their cast, for a week or so. Maybe a teacher comes and visits that isn't usually there and sees it, oh, all over again. Hey, what happened? Oh, I told everyone already. Like, it's been a week now. Oh, but tell me. Oh, I broke my arm skateboarding or whatever. Oh, that's so sad. I feel so bad. That must have been hard for you. Here, let me sign your cast. So you have this process where the attention's on you because something major happened in your life. My kids, we were in a car accident in March of 2020. My oldest, he was in grade 6. And he kind of at the beginning was like, well, I'm not going to go to school for a while. He never went back to that school, ever. I think they had like a farewell thing. So he didn't get to see his friends. He didn't get to, talk about it or even just mention, or a teacher would be like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm sorry that happened to you. It just didn't happen at all. And so I think there's a lot of kids that have that experience, that they weren't able to talk to anyone, maybe talk to their parents, but our parents, I'm not that good at, I try. It's hard to do. I'm not a professional, and sometimes they don't want to talk to you. They want to talk to someone else. All that to say, like, things need to change, because people are hurting, and just being in the school, there's a lot of kids that have a hard time being in school, being in class, being around all those people, finding a place to eat their lunch. And as an adult in the school, I want to help in some ways, but also I'm like, well, who's going to be the kid that's going to eat lunch with that adult? Like, I'm also trying not to like ruin any kid's reputation by being like the cool, thinking I'm cool adult. But I guess maybe I should just try more. I don't know. Some kids there like me. My kids like me, but there's other kids too. I guess just try to connect with them more, try to build more relationships. But yeah, I hope that they can, I hope the kids at schools all over, can find ways to connect. And I'm thankful. Yeah, I say there's no help, but the school that I work at, there's really great, counselors trying to figure out, ways that they can, connect with the kids in like natural ways, not like weird ways. And I think there's been some success there. So far. So I'm excited to be a part of a community like that, of a school, and keep strategizing in ways that we can help kids become more part of a community, more themselves, and look forward to coming to school, look forward to seeing people there. And in general, as like an introverted person that lives in the country, I need people, and people need to be nicer to each other. As people are holding a lot of stuff, and when they go to the grocery store and they have an outburst, they might need more than just people to take out their phones and video it. They might need help. We used to just say that person's crazy, and like they literally probably do have a lot of issues that are causing them to do that. So we just need more patience with each other, and we just need more resources. I hope a lot of people get inspired to get trained in how to help people grieve, how to help people work and walk through stuff. It's definitely something I'm interested in, and maybe something in the future I might look into. Anyways, that's my long thought for the day, but I'm here to talk about life, and maybe I'll look back on this later and think that maybe things have changed.